Hi there. For the past few years, I've enjoyed one of those wonderful Brazilian street foods people never hear about if they only eat at the mall food court, McDonald's, and KFC. That's their loss, because this is a very simple and wonderful food everyone needs to try. It's called coxinha, and it loosely translates to what we might call a chicken croquette. It's simply cooked chicken with a tasty dough wrapped around it, fried in a breadcrumb crust. But this is one of those magical combinations of simple ingredients that make it so much more. The chicken is tasty, and the dough, well, the dough is something you really need to experience, especially when you cook it yourself. Take a look and see. Most recipes for coxinha say to boil the chicken until it's ready to pull apart. I'd rather slow cook this chicken with some salt, pepper, and garlic powder because this will give the chicken much more flavor. We simply cook it for 6 hours and it's ready to be shredded in the same way you would shred a pulled pork. All we need to do now is chop up an onion and 6 cloves of garlic. And we strain the leftover liquid from the chicken. We'll be frying the chicken to give it more flavor, and for this, we can prepare a barbecue-style sauce with tomato paste, salt and pepper, and ground cumin. Once it's all mixed together, we're ready to cook. Now we bring out a large cast iron skillet because, of course, nothing will sear meat better than cast iron. We start by frying the onions and garlic until the onions are tender. Then we add the chicken and mix it all together. Now we add the sauce. And then we add a lot of parsley. Now it's just a matter of stir-frying until the chicken is ready. Frankly, I was tempted to just eat the chicken like this. However, the best was yet to come. And now it's time to prepare the dough. I have to say, I was amazed by this dough, and you'll see why. We add 6 cups of chicken broth to a cast iron pot and bring the broth to a rolling boil. Then we stir in 6 cups of flour and start mixing it until it becomes a thick dough. The dough is actually very thick and very difficult to stir, especially because it's boiling hot. Once the dough is mixed so there's no extra liquid, we can then let it cool for an hour, and by then it should be cool enough to knead. I was expecting this dough to be very difficult, but it was surprisingly easy to knead by hand. This dough is not as tough as it looks. I wasn't able to knead this huge mass of dough by itself, but that really didn't matter. It's very easy to take a handful of dough at a time, and you can easily knead this into a flat shape for your coxinha. This dough was so easy to handle, you may even want to make the dough later and use it in a pot pie. We simply wrap the dough around the chicken and shape it so that it looks like a pear or a chicken drumstick. The dough is surprisingly strong, which made this coxinha very easy to shape together. I was expecting it to come apart, but it was no difficulty at all to put together. The dough held its shape just fine, and before I knew it, there were 16 coxinha ready for breading. And there was even some chicken left over. Now, all we have to do is prepare breadcrumbs and beat 3 eggs. From here, we simply dip the coxinha in egg wash, then coat it with breadcrumbs. And that's all there is to it. The coxinha are ready, and now we're ready to deep fry. And that means it's time for more cast iron. We add about 2 inches of oil to a heavy pot and heat it for frying. I like to heat the oil a little hotter than 350 degrees because it'll drop in temperature when the coxinha are added to the oil. And into the oil it goes. We only have to fry this for about 3 or 4 minutes until the coating is a golden brown color. One thing about deep frying, it's a lot of fun. It makes a big mess as the grease splatters all over your stove, and it takes forever to clean up. But especially if you fry these with kids, the effort is certainly worth it, especially because you get to eat the results. And at last, the coxinha is ready to be served. All we need to do now is find a volunteer willing to give it a try. Yeah, again, I am asking for your honest opinion. I'm not paying you for this.
These are what I call crispy Hershey Kisses. This is delicious. And you can taste everything. The coating inside, like the dough, it's nice and chewy.
For years, I thought that was actually mashed potatoes on the inside until I discovered it was a dough.
I was just gonna say that I thought it was mashed potatoes, and I'm like, wait a minute, you made this with flour, and you said chicken broth, right?
Yes, that's correct.
This is delicious, but it does look like mashed potatoes.
Coxinha is as popular in Latin America as burgers are here in the United States, and it's certainly easy to see why. If you're not careful, you'll get hooked on these things, but that's not the worst addiction to have. It's well worth going out of your way to try these, and especially to make it yourself. Once you've tried using that wonderful dough, you'll certainly see it's something that can be applied to many other dishes as well. I'll gladly be making this again and trying the dough in other dishes as well. Especially if you've enjoyed coxinha, please post your comments below and tell us your stories. And above all, enjoy a classic Brazilian food that you're not likely to find at your local mall food court at any time soon. And that may be a good thing as well. Thank you for watching.